What's up, guys? My name's Stu, and today I'm going to be talking about tanking in Star Trek Online. Tanking in Star Trek Online is a bit different than other MMOs. For one, it's really only necessary once you get to the elite level TFOs, and even then, it's not that necessary for completion. Your goal as a tank is to generate as much threat as possible and keep all the aggro on yourself in order to keep the rest of your team alive. One of the best ways of generating threat, besides turning on Threatening Stance and attract firepower, is by dealing damage to as many enemies as possible all at once. This is why abilities like Fire at Will are extremely popular on tank builds. Since everything is going to be shooting at you, you're going to have to mix in some heals into your build. There are various options to do this, but one must-have thing is the energetic protomatter infusers that you get from the fleet colony. Think of these like the tanking version of vulnerability locators. They provide a massive buff to your energy weapon damage, but also give you some passive heals along with them. While heals are important, you want to make sure you're not overdoing it. A common mistake I often see is players overloading their builds with a bunch of healing consoles or useless armor and shield consoles. This is a mistake we call over-tanking. Remember, your job is to generate threat, so if you've sacrificed too much damage for heals and such, you're not going to generate enough threat to keep your team alive. Forgot to talk about specializations. I would recommend Miracle Worker Strategist. Miracle Worker has some nice passive heal stuff that go along nicely with those protomatter infusers and any other heals you might be using. And if you have Threatening Stance on, Diversionary Tactics, which comes from Strategist, turns into a taunt, so it becomes really nice for generating additional threat and keeping the focus on you instead of your teammates. Before it gets asked, there is no definitive best ship for tanking, just like anything else in Star Trek Online. I'm rather fond of the Legendary Odyssey. I know the Styx Dreadnought is really popular for tanking. Augmented Dictator Games recently made a tank build out of the Legendary Ambassador. You got options. As long as it's a cruiser with attract firepower, you should be able to make a decent tank out of it. So it just depends on what suits your playstyle and what's available to you. Now I'm going to walk you through an ISC I tanked myself to give you an idea of positioning and timing your abilities, because like with DPS, that stuff is very important when you're tanking. Here we are in the briefing. Admiral Devak is being overly dramatic as always. You'll see me mousing over attract firepower and threatening stance. You want to make sure to activate those before combat starts. Everyone's calling in their Kobayashi Marus. I usually hold off until there's about 10 to 15 seconds left on the timer, because those buffs only last about 30 seconds or so. Once you're down to about 5 seconds, that's when you want to start spooling up your buffs. Make sure your reverse shield polarity and things like your DPRM or your Ion Storm are active, because this is going to be one of the biggest fights of the TFO. I usually let the competitive engine buff take me into combat. Using full impulse runs the risk of flying past the cubes and right into the gateway. You want to be as close as you possibly can to that tactical cube. Since you're going to be running mostly beam arrays, you want to run this like a broadside build. You want to be aiming your side to your primary targets. That way all of your weapons are going to be firing at once. Your torpedo will have the narrowest firing arc, but on large targets like the tactical cubes and transformers, aiming shouldn't be a problem. Once that opening mob is down, you want to hit your deuterium surplus and head for that left transformer as quickly as possible. Don't use evasive maneuvers yet, you want to save that for the next part. Since the DPS players will be entirely focused on that transformer, your Fire at Will and Torp spreads are going to be mostly responsible for taking down the generators and the cube above. Before that transformer goes down, make sure you've got your ship pointed in the direction of the other transformer, because you're going to need to get to the other side of that gateway as fast as possible, and not only is a giant U-turn going to slow you down, it's also going to pull you away from things you need to be drawing aggro from. Once the transformer does go down and your team has killed all the spheres, that's when you want to use your evasive maneuvers, because that's when all the DPSers are going to be using their evasive maneuvers to get to the other transformer as fast as possible, and you need to be keeping up with them. Make sure you keep hitting your spacebar when you're crossing from one transformer to the other. This way your Fire at Will be hitting some of the probes and spheres pouring out of the gateway, and it'll pull some threat off of your control player onto you. Once you're at the second transformer, it's much like the first one. Keep spamming Fire at Will and torpedo spread, and make sure you turn your ship around to get ready for the run on the gate. Once the second transformer's down, you're ready to move on the gateway. Your reverse shield polarity and any consoles you used in the beginning should be off cooldown by now, or nearly, so time to pop them because this is going to be the second big fight of this TFO, because you're going up against another tactical cube and the gateway itself. Position yourself between the top of the gateway and the tactical cube. The whole team should be focused on destroying the gateway first because it'll be spawning additional spheres and probes, but since you're using fire at will, you'll effectively be broadsiding both the gateway and the cube at the same time. Once the gateway is down, moving closer to the tactical cube and keep shooting it until it's dead, which I would be doing if my Baul Sentry Mode console didn't keep me rooted while it was active, so instead I can just stay here and keep shooting it until it's dead. I use Baul anti-proton weapons because the refraction proc is absolutely fantastic for generating threat, but don't feel like you're limited to just that option. Augmented Dictator Games runs Agony Phasers on his tank. I used to run Pulse Phasers on my old tank before Baul came out. Any energy weapon type with any sort of damage over time or debuff proc should generate some amount of threat, so feel free to experiment with different damage types and see what works best for you. So yeah, that should cover the basics of tanking in Star Trek Online. Hopefully it helps you in crafting your own build or when piloting an ISE yourself. I am planning on making a build video for my own tank build to show off what gear I'm using on mine and why I'm using it, so keep an eye out for that. A few shoutouts before I wrap up here. First to Sarcasm Detector, aka lowlifecat, for setting up this ISE run during his live stream. Next to Augmented Dictator Games for always just being a fantastic source for researching builds, whether through his YouTube channel or live on his Twitch channel. And the last to YwoskiHG, who is the guy who taught me about 90% of what I know about tanking, so big thanks to him. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff down below. I'd really appreciate it. My name's Stu, and I'm wearing a different shirt because I had to re-record this outro.